Alright guys, so this is going to be my take on the Prometheus split gearbox that has recently come out. Just going to be my 2 cents, what I've noticed as I put it together. I did a full build on this thing, and I'm just going to be telling you guys how it went. Doesn't really seem like anyone's done it yet, so everyone seems to be throwing the hate down on the 6mm gearbox, and they're all waiting on that 8mm before anyone wants to buy it. First thing is, one of my issues is fitment. So fitment went pretty well, except for right here is where the mag catch goes through the gearbox. And I actually had to shave away some of the gearbox shell right here because just the way that it's curved, the button release was making contact with the gearbox, and I was not able to put the locking piece through, and I wasn't able to spin it on. So in order to fix that, I had to take a Dremel and take off about 1.5 mm in a upwards direction like that, and now it fits just fine. I don't think I've compromised the gearbox at all. I haven't creeped in on that one of those screw locations, and it's not really in any of the real stress areas, right? Now, the first thing I thought about this was, okay, cool, I got this red plate. I can take it off and I can play with the gears while leaving the top part intact. Well, that's not the case. Right here, there is a continuation of the plate underneath this one. So this screw goes through both the top plate and the red plate. All right? And it keeps you from removing the gear plate by itself. So you have to remove the top one before you can remove the low one. This build, we have a Titan MOSFET, we have standard VFC gears, standard VFC compression, and then an M130 spring, and the spring guide that came with the Prometheus gearbox. Trigger is standard with the VFC M27 that this is in. Okay, so really only upgrades are the gearbox outer shell, spring, and MOSFET. Okay, everything's working really well, as you guys are going to see in the shooting video. This thing is crisp, clean, and as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem stressed. It's not loud, it's pretty quiet. It seems to be handling that kind of torque from the M130 just fine. And it overall, for me it works. The motor I'm running is a LayLax A1 Supreme Edition. It doesn't say super torque or super speed, it just says high performance. I want to say I went for the more torque version. Don't remember off the top of my head. I've had this thing for well over a year. All right, so that's kind of my 2 cents on how this goes. Again, I got the Prometheus bearings to go with it. VFC gearbox, that one just had regular 8mm bushings. Now I'm going to 6mm bearings, not ball bearings. For me, the 6mm bearings, I'm not too worried about the heat or the stress I'm going to be putting onto it. If it really does break, I'll let you guys know. A lot of people say that 8mm is going to have a lot better heat mitigation and it's going to last longer. I've never really seen that proven, so I'm not too worried about it. We'll see what happens. I will say it is a lot easier putting things together and lining things up. Don't have to worry about holding everything in place at the same time. So the red plate's on. Then the upper plate, it's super easy. Just throw it on top and you just throw the screws in. Once the screws are in, then you push the spring in. Spring goes in like so, and then you just turn it 90 degrees and it'll lock into place. I will show you one thing as soon as I finish putting it together about an issue that I have with the spring guide. Okay, now the only problem I have with how the spring guide sits is that it's very easy to, as it is sitting right now, it's kind of like pointed down. All right, then I can push it back to center. All right, now it's at center, and then it flexes back up, and it'll do its own thing. So center, back down, and honestly it's really kind of loose. I don't know how that might be scratching the piston or the spring, if at all. Maybe it doesn't, maybe it's fine, but it's very wobbly when I do put it back together and then try and keep it straight once I assemble it. So I've got that going for me. Again, this is a VFC that I'm replacing. So the old gearbox, you would have the bolt catch and release. That would be operational. Sadly, yeah, those parts don't knock over to the Prometheus gearbox. I can't have a functioning bolt release, but I can still keep that bolt catch installed on the left side. So it's a little sacrifice I'm giving up there. It does have a shaft for ambidextrous selectors, but my M27 does not have ambidextrous controls. So don't need that, but it is another feature that I can have. Everything else feels great. You can definitely tell the difference in material between the lower and the upper. Just the solid steel, nice solid feel of it, and then the aluminum lower plate that is nicely milled and looks really great. So my main reason of getting this was A, it looked cool, and B, I really kind of needed, you guys are gonna laugh at me for this, this extra little wiring here. I know some other companies do it, but this one really screamed out. It just came out at the right time. It's just timing. That's why I needed it. I was looking for something and this one just popped up on my radar. I know there's other stuff out there, but again, this one looks cool and it just came out. So I have my gate tighten, but it is a front wired gate tighten just because of where I got it. Only had front wired in stock, so I hand jammed it in there to make it rear wired. It works just fine, but it does not look pretty. So having this extra channel for my wires, definitely stripped one of the wire connectors right here from my bevel gear. No. Yeah, bevel gear. Heh. See? Knowledge. That's why I like this gearbox. Alright. I resoldered it, shrink wired, put it back in. It works just fine, and now it's in its own channel away from the gears. So that was my main selling point on me getting this gearbox. And as of right now, it's doing absolutely wonderful. Up next is shooting video. Show you guys how this thing handles with an M130 stock gears. Shooting test for Prometheus gearbox using M130 spring, a Prometheus barrel, 6.03, that I believe is somewhere close to 400 millimeters, maybe a little longer. Goes to the very edge of the flash hider. One magazine will be using .25s, the other magazine will be using .3s. That's .3s, that's .25s. All right, get the chrono started. All right, starting with 2.5s. Give me a second. Put that right where you can see it. Gun is super quiet and feeds perfectly with this. All right, switching mags, and there's a bunch of BBs everywhere. All right, on to the .3s. All right, 5 shots with .3s, range from, what is that, 407 to 413. Not bad. There you go. Last but not least is going to be rounds per second on 3 round burst with the 0.25 grams. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'd be happy to answer, or something for me to test out. I'm not doing any dual sector gear builds, and I'm not going to go over an M130. There's no point for me to do it, just because my field, this thing is already too hot as it is, and I got to break in this spring. So there's really no reason for me to have that.